The Treaty of Paris was signed on January 14th, 1784, at the State House in Maryland. America was represented at the signing by Benjamin Franklin, John Jay, and John Adams. Britain was represented at the signing by Richard Oswald, The main goal of the Treaty of Paris was to end the Revolutionary War between the colonists and the British. So while this was very important, the most important article of the treaty to the Americans is when Great Britain pronounced them a free country so that they were no longer a part of the British and they were allowed to be their own independent people. The Treaty of Alliance with the French was originally formed to help send aid to the Americans while they were in war against the British. The French saw this as a great opportunity and decided to accept the alliance because they saw this as an opportunity to get back at the British, who beat them in the 7-Year War and took the land that they were hoping to gain control of. Congress decided to send Representative Ben Franklin to France because he was extremely popular there. The French saw him as very simplistic and also very honest. So Ben Franklin represented America in France when the treaty was signed on February 6th, 1778. The Constitution of the United States of America gave the federal government more power than the states. This is a very good choice because imagine if the states had the same amount of power as the national government, then states would be independent, they would make their own rules, and they could potentially break away from the country, and we would not be a united nation like we should be. The Constitution of the United States was ratified on July 28, 1788. To ratify means to sign or give formal consent to a treaty, contract, or agreement, making it officially valid. So, in other words, that means that the Constitution was put into place on July 26, 1788. In the year 1775, George Washington was chosen to be the commander-in-chief for the Revolutionary War. He was chosen for this prestigious job based on his past military experience. Surprisingly, George Washington requested not to receive a salary for his role as commander-in-chief. However, he did request that his expenses were to be paid at the end of the war. So instead of being paid like a little bit over the course of like a few years, he will be paid all of his money at the very end. The first draft of the Articles of Confederation were written on July 12th, 1776, yet they were adopted a year later on November 15th, 1777. The original purpose of the Articles was to establish the functions of the national government. Unfortunately, the realistic outcomes of the Articles were that they created a loose confederation of sovereign states and a weak central government, which left most power to the states. The authors of the articles realized that they needed to fix this problem, because if all the power was left with the states could go off on their own and be more independent and non-unified. So this led to the Constitutional Convention in 1787. The Federalist Papers were first published in 1787. A Federalist is a supporter of federalism, which is a system of government where power is constitutionally divided between a central authority, which would be like the national government, and the states. The Federalist Papers were written by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay. However, when the Americans first saw the series of the 85 papers in New York newspapers, they saw it under the pen name Publicis, which means the public, and was signed first by James Madison. So basically, he came up with it. The most important article in the Federalist Papers is Fed number 84, which presented the idea that a Bill of Rights was not a necessary component of the United States Constitution, and that was written by Alexander Hamilton. The infamous Declaration of Independence was first written by Thomas Jefferson. He wrote the first draft, and that draft was modified by other writers. But the purpose of this declaration was to state that the colonies were free from Great Britain. However, fighting would still continue. So this is just like basically the Americans saying that they would like to be freed. By signing and ratifying the Declaration of Independence, we actually helped other countries, because once we signed this, America was pronounced a free country, and we could make an alliance with the French without having the consent of the British.